been a while since I've posted a ride video. This is for two reasons. Firstly, it's summer here and mostly too hot to ride other than our weekly ride up to Jerry's, which is just a 100-kilometre round trip. Secondly, I've had knee surgery and I'm still recovering. My bike's fitted with the electronic suspension and I love the ability to just change modes. I'm going to use the off-road mode, and that changes the damping and detunes the ABS. Today's adventure is in my backyard in the WAN Hills. I'm only about 10 minutes from home. And today's challenge is to see how I can cope with the DCT on an up and downhill. That is, up and downhill on a dirt road. But before I get to the downhill that I'm looking for, I'm just taking this little diversion just to see whether it's too wet to ride. There's been a bit of rain lately and there's quite a few puddles around. The track's not too bad, it's sort of sandy, but there's a big bog hole up ahead and I'm going to turn around. I'm on my own and I'm not going to take the risk, so let's go back up to the main track. Anyway, back on topic. Why am I so concerned about this DCT? Well, until I gave up trail bike riding, I've been riding in these hills for about 35 years. I love the feeling of the free-wheeling downhill rocky hills on the dirt bikes, with the clutch engaged and just regulating the speed with the front brake and a tiny bit of back brake for stability. But I can't engage the clutch on the DCT. It'll always be in gear whether I'm in manual mode or auto mode, so I just don't know what to expect. Still getting there, so I thought I'd get the drone up and use the follow me. Well, here's what happens when you're an idiot. Ooh, just missed. Ooh, didn't miss. Oh dear. Because this is the first time I've crashed the drone, it took me ages to work out how to find where it was. And even then, I was looking in the wrong place for about an hour before I finally realised that I could expand it out, walk very slowly so that the GPS would refresh properly, and I was able to finally find it on the other side of the road from where I was looking all the way. And fortunately, it was not damaged. So that's a win. Poor little Sparky. I promise to be more careful next time. Okay, this is the side track that I was aiming for. This is called Wadigan Creek Road, and if you keep following it, you end up at Laguna. But today, I'll only go as far as the bridge. And hopefully, find the little downhill that I'm interested in testing the DCT on. Of course, the GoPro doesn't show it, but this little track has a number of little bumps and hollows and drainage ditches. So I'm standing up and I'm happy to report that my knee is coping quite well. S1 mode is my favourite mode, and that's what I'm using to just ride along this track. I'm running Midas EO7 tyres, which are about a 50-50-ish type tyre, and they've done about 7,000 kilometres, so they're nowhere near new, but they're handling this sort of stuff quite well. This is sort of a sandy-ish, sort of loamish type of track, and because it's rained overnight, there's no dust. It's quite pretty. Okay, this is where the bit of downhill starts that I want to practice on. Of course, it doesn't look like downhill on the GoPro. Now, I've just got it in automatic and it's sitting in second gear at the moment. Quite a few drainage ditches. The bike's just cruising nicely. I actually haven't come to the rough part yet. Well, this is pretty nice. Nice morning before the day heats up. Subtropical rainforest. It's been raining overnight, so there's no dust. Okay, I think this is the downhill. Wow, it's quite smooth. Almost looks like it's been graded since I was here last, which was quite a long time ago. Of course, I could be wrong. I may not be at the right spot yet. Really, the only thing that I've got to be careful of riding the DCT, especially going downhill, is what my wrist is doing. But I don't let the bumps jerk my wrist. Because of course, when it's in auto mode, or in manual mode for that matter, I can't engage the clutch and let the bike just roll. As you can see, the bike's still in second because we're not going all that slow. But it sort of feels like it's freewheeling okay. You can roll on the throttle gently without it feeling jerky. Yeah, well, that's what used to be a rocky downhill. Now, isn't that pretty? Just listen to the serenity.
Okay, I'm going to go back up the hill and I'm just going to put it in manual, which is one press of the button, and it's in first. I'll leave it in first. I've got the paddle shifters over here if I need them, but I'll just leave it in first gear and tootle up the hill. Again, the secret I think of riding a DCT is a smooth throttle. Okay, let's just stop. As you can see, as soon as you stop the bike, it goes into neutral. So, what if we're on a steep uphill and we need the stability to put both feet down, so I can't use the back brake? Normally with a geared bike, I'd be able to use the clutch to control myself so that the back wheel was locked. Well, not not happening, and as I put the front brake on, it just slides the front wheel, so that's not great. And I can't use the back brake because I need to put my feet on the ground to keep the bike stability. But I can use the handbrake even though it's not meant for it. So now you can see that I can just regulate with the handbrake, so that's fine. So with the handbrake engaged, the bike is stable on the hill, just rocking it backwards and forwards. It's nice and stable. I can start the bike without having to worry about the front brake now, because it doesn't do much pulling me downhill anyway. So now I can just engage, put on some throttle, still with the handbrake on. Now I can just release the handbrake and off we go. Perfect. I love it. Well, there you go. The DCT is not hard to ride up and down hill. When it's in manual or when it's in auto mode. I can still use the back brake to control my speed and using my throttle if I can get my foot onto the back brake, which I can now. But I think I'll put it back into manual mode and back into first. Just leave it in first because it is changing up and down a bit when I'm going uphill. First is too low. Go up one. Yay, that's good. One thing I haven't tried, and that is when it's in manual mode, whether when I slow down a lot, yep, there it goes, it will still come down to first on its own if I slow down to a walking speed. So I'm not going to be caught lugging the bike if I go too slow in a manual gear. Well, the bike's certainly got some pickup. I don't know why people say they need more than 100 horsepower, because I certainly can't use anywhere near that amount. I've got traction control on the minimum, but I'm still able to break away with the back wheel even with traction control minimum. So for the sort of riding I do, I don't think I'll need to take the traction control off altogether. Ooh, bike's going to need washing when I get home. Well, that was a fun little experiment. Oh, and by the way, going from manual to auto is so simple. It's just a press of one button, that grey button there. So we're in manual at the moment. Let's not crash. One button press and it goes back into whatever I was in before. So if I was in S1 and I go into manual and then go back into auto, it goes back to S1. Very nice.
As the late great Kenny Everett used to say, I think it's time for a little breaky poo. By the way, I'm in State Forest here with its well-maintained picnic areas and camping areas and well-maintained roads, which is the opposite to the other end of the Wattigans, which is National Park. No hot drinks for me today. It's still only about 9 o'clock in the morning, but it's about 98% humidity and the day's warming up. So, cold water only. Excellent. All right, let's sum up. How am I coping with the DCT on a gravel road? Well, I guess the first point is that I'm no Tony Bow or Toby Price. So the stuff that you've seen me riding on today would be the most difficult that I would try to attempt, especially on my own. But I'm really pleased with how the DCT operates. Even in auto mode, going down and up hills and round those twisty corners, etc., it performed really well. I was surprised. Performed really well for the sort of riding I do. So I'm very happy. So I think we can say no, there's no tears. And the worst thing about riding on dirt roads, the bike gets dirty. Yeah, look at all that.
And you know what they say, dirty bike, dirty mind. So I better get home quick and give it a wash.